33. Love is a scam.
Scam.
Date after date, I was simply unlucky. I thought I had finally found someone worth keeping. My mental health was quickly deteriorating. If I had the opportunity to review my actions, I wouldn't change a thing. My name is Vanessa, and I'm 33. These days, people do not usually like me when I am dismissive about love or when I say love is a scam. But the truth is that I have not always been like this. Once upon a time, I was a woman searching for love, just like everyone else, but everything changed one day. Dating in my mid-20s up until my early 30s was far from a pleasant experience. It was so heartbreaking that I began to think I was simply unlucky. In about 5 years, I went on what felt like 100 dates, meeting men who were mostly emotionally unavailable. After speaking for a few minutes with some of these men, I would realize that I was yet to find the one for me. Date after date, I kept walking away disappointed. One night, I prepared for a date as usual. I was not expecting much because at that point, I had nearly lost all hope. It was on this date that I met Matt. He was charming in a way that felt effortless. He didn't just ask about my day, he actually listened. Our first date lasted for hours. It was like a marathon of laughter and deep conversations. Even when he flirted with me, it was just enough to leave me buzzing. He did not come off as creepy in any way like several guys I had encountered. We went on another date, and by our third, I started to believe that this was it. I thought I had finally found someone worth keeping. We spent entire weekends together, cooking meals, binge-watching several series on Netflix, and making inside jokes that only we understood. He sent good morning texts and called me just to hear my voice. For the first time in a long time, I actually felt love. All these went on for about 2 months, and then one day he vanished. No text, no call, no explanation. He was just gone. He blocked me on all his socials. I nearly ran mad. I read every one of our conversations countless times, trying to pinpoint the exact moment I did something wrong. I even considered calling his work to see if he was still alive. But deep down I knew he wasn't dead. He was just another guy who decided I wasn't worth the courtesy of closure. Now I know for sure that I just carried an omen of bad luck. My mental health was quickly deteriorating, and I started to search for help. In my search for help, one major thing I learned was that I needed to move on. I just needed to see Matt as just another one of the several guys that I had gone on dates with. But honestly, I found it impossible to move on in my apartment. I had been with Matt for only 2 months, but it already felt like 5 years. I couldn't stay in that apartment anymore. Everywhere I looked, I saw memories of him, and these memories did not help. The environment didn't seem to support me in moving on. Since I was able to afford changing apartments, I moved. This would at least give me a fresh start, a clean slate to continue writing my love story. To be honest, the new environment was very nice, and after 1 week, moving on was starting to become something possible. I felt a new sense of freedom. In the second week after I moved in, I met the neighbor, who was a very nice woman, and she was about my age. Her name was Emily. I had assisted her in moving her deliveries in. She was a lively woman, and we hit off quickly. She told me her husband was currently not in the state as he had traveled for a business convention. In the next few days, while her husband was not around, we became a little bit close, and she would come over to my apartment, or I would go over to hers. It was a quickly growing friendship. After a few days of us bonding, she told me her husband would be coming back the next day. She invited me over for dinner to introduce me to her husband. I did not think too much of it. When I arrived, Emily was setting the table, and she mentioned her husband had stepped out to grab some things. I was scrolling through my phone when the front door opened, and that's when I saw him. Matt was standing right before my eyes. It took a second for my brain to register, but there was no way I could have mistaken that face. The face of the same guy who took me on 3 dates, looked me dead in the eyes, and told me he wanted to see where things went, only to ghost me without a trace. I expected him to play it cool, maybe act like we were old friends. Instead, he acted like he had never seen me in his life and tried to say hello to me with a handshake. First, he ghosted me without a word, and now he's going to make me feel like I am the crazy one who is seeing things. Matt. I did not know when his name left my lips. It was at this point that Emily realized that I had been staring at Matt a little bit too intensely. When she asked if we knew each other, Matt immediately denied it. It was at this point that I knew that I had to stand up for myself. At that moment, I did not care if he was trying to protect his family or whatever. It was clear to me that I had just been used and that he never really cared about me. When he tried to deny me, I stood up and called him a liar. I then turned to his wife and told her that we had recently dated for over 2 months and that he had suddenly ghosted me. After I said what I had to say, I left their house. I was not even crying. I was just angry at everything. The next day, I got a text from her, but it wasn't what I expected. She wasn't angry with Matt, she was mad at me. In her text, she claimed that I was lying. Matt had told her that we had dated 4 years ago. I could not believe that she could be so gullible. I did not argue with her. Instead, I sent her screenshots of our text from late last year and screenshots of his Bumble profile. She never responded to me. I continued with my life. I could not believe that the very problem I was running away from is now my next door neighbor. I didn't see Emily or Matt for a few weeks, and I honestly did not care. There is no way I'm moving out of here when I only just moved in less than a month ago. A few days later, I got a knock on my door. It was Matt. How brave of him to suddenly show up at my door. No, I don't think it was even brave. I think it was stupid. I didn't let him in. I could tell that he was angry. He told me that his wife was pressing for divorce and it was all my fault. Now, I could not take his shit anymore. I threatened to call the police if he didn't leave. You should have kept shut. The last thing he said to me as he walked away. I wish I had a gun that day. Looking back on everything now, I feel bad for Emily. She didn't deserve all that happened to her family. Again, no one deserves half of the shit that happens to them. I certainly didn't. But I was glad I was able to pull my revenge on the bastard. If I had the opportunity to review my actions, I wouldn't change a thing.